Hello everyone and welcome back to Brink of Speed. I'm so happy you pressed that play button today. So today's video is all about the 2019 C7 Corvette ZR1 and everything you didn't know. Now obviously there's going to be some people out there that already knew some of this stuff, so if you did, that's fine. Hopefully there'll be some stuff that you learned anyway, but I would be willing to guess that most of the people out there do not know a lot of these facts and figures and info. So let's go ahead and get started. There is a rumor out there stating that the ZR1 is all bark and no bite, and that it is overrated. In fact, there are YouTubers that show it being beat by cars that have a lot less horsepower, and I don't know about you, but that bothers me. People also say that it was overpriced and priced too high for what it is. They say just buy a Z06 and make it faster than the ZR1, but is the ZR1 only about more power and speed, or is it really much more than that? I'll address that shortly here. Real quick though, for the last video that I did on the ZR1 where I got to drive it, you can click the iCard in the top right corner as you see it pop up. Now, first of all, I just want to say that I didn't know what to expect with the ZR1 before I drove it, but after driving it, all the performance data and things that I had heard this car was all true. So I'm going to ask you 5 questions and I'm going to answer them, but I want you to think about it also with me as I ask them. Number 1. Is the C7 ZR1 really the best Corvette GM has ever made? Well, in my opinion, the answer to that question is absolutely yes. I would have said that before I drove it, but after driving it, there's no doubt in my mind. I've actually had the pleasure of driving 5 generations out of the 7 generations of Corvette, a C2, a C4, C5, 6, and 7. And I'm telling you what, the C2 and C4 were both normal, just, base model Corvettes. But the C5, 6, and 7 have all been Z06s. And obviously you know that those are very high performance cars, but the ZR1 topped it. So yes. Number 2, can this car be daily driven? Again, my answer to that question is yes, absolutely. It only has 3 out of the 5 modes that the Z06, Grand Sport, and Stingray have. But one of the most important modes that it has for daily driving is touring mode. And when you put it in touring mode, it feels so smooth and so plush. It feels like you're driving a Cadillac. So the answer to 2 is also yes. Number 3, can you mod the C7 ZR1? The answer to that is absolutely yes also, and that's a brand new thing. A company by the name of HP Tuners has come out with some amazing tuning, and so I know there's some ZR1s out there that are doing great things on the drag strip right now. I know we have one that's gotten down into the low 9s. And that's incredible for just a simple tune and maybe a couple of modifications. Number 4, is the ZR1 all bark and no bite? Well, that's an easy answer also. The answer to that is absolutely not. It is definitely not all bark and no bite. It has the power to take you to 215 miles an hour. And my Z06 top speed was only 195 miles an hour, so that's 20 miles an hour over my Z06. But no, it is definitely not all bark and no bite. Number 5, is the C7 ZR1 overpriced? Absolutely not. And I'm going to get more into that. Again, people say you should just buy a Z06 and mod it, and it will be better and faster than the ZR1. But what I'm going to do next is I'm going to compare the ZR1 to the Z06, and both will be C7s. And I'm going to give you all the things that you probably didn't know, or if you did know some of them, you probably didn't know all of these things. and hopefully you learn a lot. So let's go ahead and jump into that part of the video. In my opinion, the ZR1 looks a lot more mean, tough, and better. And it's more like a race car than the Z06. GM learned from the Z06 how to make the ZR1 a much nastier Corvette. So those two things right there, when you take a look at the ZR1 next to the Z06, you can tell it is just a more racetrack prepped car. From the big, huge wang on the back, as people call it, to the giant front splitter, and then all of the giant openings on the front that suck all that cooler air in. And then, you know, it having 105 more horsepower than the Z06 also makes it even that much more of a race type car. Moving on. The engine is the same, but not really. First of all, it has a much larger Eaton supercharger, which gives the ZR1, again, 105 more horsepower and 65 foot-pounds more torque than the Z06. This new supercharger gulps in a whopping 52% more air than the Z06 does. The ZR1 has 13 total heat exchangers, which is 4 more than the Z06, and obviously keeping the new huge supercharge and engine cool. The ZR1 also gets a new dual fuel injection system. Now this is really cool. This new ZR1 gets a direct and port injection for more efficient and powerful combustion process. And there's something later on that we'll talk about that these dual injection systems has by effect caused, and it's a very good thing that it's caused on the new ZR1. The crankshaft is also beefed up. That's very important, obviously, because it's got a lot more horsepower. And the ZR1 has a larger throttle body. It's got a 95mm throttle body compared to the Z06's 87mm throttle body. Now again, for another ZR1 video, you can click the iCard in the upper right corner. The ZR1 has a different tuned mag ride suspension also. This is a huge difference. As I stated in my last video, when I got into this ZR1 and I turned on the sport mode, it was much more bumpy than my sport mode. When I turned on the track mode, it was much more of a stiff and bumpy ride than my track mode. And the tour mode felt just as plush, if not more plush, than my Z06. The ZR1 front tires are over 1/2 inch wider. Also, the front fenders are a bit wider. And by the way, the ZR1 comes standard with carbon ceramic brakes. With the Z06, you actually have to pay extra for those carbon ceramic brakes, but with the ZR1, they come standard. Now let's talk aero. The ZR1 also comes standard with huge carbon fiber aero, and if you get the ZTK package, you get a huge rear wing. This rear wing comes with 10 degrees of adjustability. All of this aero gives the ZR1 a huge downforce advantage over the Z06. The ZR1 has 60% more downforce for a total of 950 pounds of downforce. The Z06 only has 440 pounds of downforce. Also, the rear wing on the ZR1 is tied to the chassis, unlike the Z06 where it just pushes down on the rear deck. And as you can see here, the front splitter on the ZR1 absolutely dwarfs the Z06's. Oh yeah, and remember when I was saying that the dual stage injection system had a cause and effect? Well, the effect, the ZR1 spits out flames. Amazing. Now moving on, this car rides completely different from a Z06 also. It feels more refined and smoother in every way. The acceleration is so smooth that you don't even realize how fast it's actually accelerating. When I got back into my car and drove off, it was the first time my 2015 Z06 felt old and it only had 10,000 miles on it. the ZR1 felt that much newer and refined than my car. I'm not kidding, folks. It was night and day different. Not to mention that they only made 2,000 of these cars. This all by itself makes this car way more exotic and rare than a Z06, and definitely worth the extra cash. Not to mention, it is going down in history as the last most powerful front-engine Corvette ever made. Don't forget those very key, important facts about the ZR1 before you start judging it and saying that it's not worth $130,000, $40,000, $50,000. Now let's talk ZR1 performance. Its 0 to 60 time is 2.85 seconds. That's 1/10 faster than the Z06. And the quarter mile time is 10.6 seconds, which is also 3.5 tenths faster than the Z06. But this isn't even where it shines the brightest. This car was built for a road course racetrack for sure. Just take a look at the official lap times from Virginia International Raceway. The first thing you will notice is the ZR1 owns second place, right behind the GT2 RS, which is a $300,000 car. The second thing you will notice is the color coding for pricing on these cars. Out of the top 5 cars, which obviously the ZR1 was second, the ZR1 is the only car that cost $100,000 less than the rest of them. This is super impressive. So, with all of these facts and information, what is my conclusion? Well, I'm going to let you know. I submit to you that just based on these facts and info alone, the ZR1 has ample justification for its price. But if you go drive one, you won't think it's overpriced or overrated at all. You will immediately feel and experience why this car is the best Corvette GM has ever built. Go out, if you have the means, go drive a ZR1 before you judge it and make any conclusions yourself. I guarantee you, if you already like Corvettes, you're absolutely going to fall in love with this car. And you're not going to worry about the extra money you have to spend on that car over a Z06, especially if you're going to track the car. But everyone, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure and give me a big thumbs up. Leave your comments below letting me know what your opinions and ideas are on the ZR1, if you've driven one, and if you enjoyed it and loved it. Also, let me know if you would pay that kind of money for it. Also, if you have not joined this amazing Brink of Speed community yet, make sure and smash that red subscribe and bell notification so that you're notified when my new content comes out. But other than that, guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you out on the road.